One of Disney's best pairs of siblings is getting the live-action treatment with Maya Kealoha and Sydney Elizabeth Agudong in Lilo and Stitch. Kealoha is making her acting debut in the Disney remake by starring as the titular young protagonist, staying true to the movie's Hawaiian roots by being a native Hawaiian herself. Agudong, older sister to Resident Evil alum Sienna Agudong, also finds herself in one of her most high-profile roles yet in the film, playing older sister Nani, having previously co-starred in everything from the rom-com Infamously in Love to appearances in Netflix's On My Block. The live-action Lilo and Stitch centers on the titular young girl who is being raised by her young adult older sister in the wake of their parents' death from a car accident. As her loneliness leads to more behavioral problems, and Nani recognizes her need for a friend, Lilo adopts the eponymous creature, not knowing it to be a rambunctious alien experiment, and while they welcome him into their family, they must protect Stitch from both the federal and galactic governments. Also starring Chris Sanders as Stitch, Zach Galifianakis, Billy Magnussen, and Courtney B. Vance, Lilo and Stitch is garnering positive reviews from critics. In anticipation of the movie's release, Screen Rant interviewed Maya Kealoha and Sydney Elizabeth Agudong to discuss Lilo and Stitch. The pair opened up about their favorite parts of the live-action remake, including the return of a few familiar faces, as well as what it was like working with the stand-in puppet for the titular alien, and why their sisterly bond is so important to the movie's emotional core. Kealoha and Agudong found it really easy to connect with one another. How do you not love her? While all eyes were on how the live-action design of Stitch would turn out in the film, one of the most important elements for Lilo and Stitch to recreate is the bond between Lilo and Nani, with the latter's love for her younger sister often tested by both having to be her legal guardian, and the former's rebellious attitude. In reflecting on how they went about capturing that dynamic, both Kealoha and Agudong agreed it was actually really easy to connect to each other, with the young star also describing her co-star as being kind of a softie. Agudong also went on to point out that when one works so closely with your co-stars, it leads to them learning a lot about each other, while also brightly beaming to Kealoha, how do you not love her? This happiness also poured over into their scenes interacting with Stitch, which Kealoha described as being amazing, and Agudong recalled her young co-star fell in love with him from the start. Agudong also recalled Kealoha having screamed when she first saw the stand-in puppet, which Kealoha described as being so cute, and that her lips turned black because of his nose from interacting with it so much. OG Lilo and Stitch fans will get that same magic from the remake. Working with Tia Korea was also really meaningful for Agudong. Maya Kealoha's Lilo and Sydney Agudong laying with each other in a hammock in Lilo and Stitch. Though the movie has largely assembled a new roster of stars, the Lilo and Stitch cast does feature a few familiar faces from the original movie, namely that of original Nani actor Tia Korea appearing as Mrs. Kikoa, the social worker supervising Nani's guardianship of Lilo. Both Kealoha and Agudong found it amazing to get to work with one of the original stars of the franchise, with the latter also recalling how she really wanted to have a conversation with Korea before she was even cast in the remake. She did create such an iconic version of Nani that I wanted to make sure I was doing my due diligence on that end, Agudong explained. And getting to speak with her was such a blessing, and she instantly made me feel comfortable and free, and gave me that passing of the generations, and that blessing to kind of explore my own avenue as an artist. That was really, really meaningful to me. Kealoha also recalled being very excited to work with Amy Hill playing TT, which means grandma in Hawaiian, as she explained. Hill is another returning star for the franchise, having previously played fruit stand owner Mrs. Hasegawa in both the original movie and its TV spin-off, now playing the Pelikai's longtime neighbor and David's grandma, who is one of the new creations for the remake. Kealoha beamed as she described it being beautiful acting with everyone in the film, between the cast and the recreations of some of the movie's iconic sequences, with Kealoha humorously recalling, the Hawaiian rollercoaster ride wasn't always perfect. Both she and Agudong assure that audiences are going to get the highs and lows from the original, and that same magic of Lilo and Stitch, but that the remake will also let fans go deeper with its characters and story. More about Lilo and Stitch. 2025. Lilo and Stitch, the wildly funny and touching story of a lonely Hawaiian girl and the fugitive alien who helps to mend her broken family. A live-action reimagining of Disney's 2002 animated classic, Lilo and Stitch is directed by Dean Fleischerkamp, the Oscar-nominated filmmaker behind the animated feature film Marcel the Shell with Shoes On, with a screenplay by Chris Kalani Bright and Mike Van Ways, and stars Sydney Elizabeth Agudong, Billy Magnussen, Tia Korea, Hannah Waddingham, Chris Sanders, with Courtney B. Vance, and Zach Galifianakis, and introducing Maya Kealoha. The film is produced by Jonathan Eyrick, PGA and Dan Lin, with Tom Peitzman, Ryan Halperin, Louis Provost, and Thomas Schumacher serving as executive producers.